Today I'm going to be reacting to the VRchat ERP problem.
While it's nothing new, it's been in online games for decades, and it's one of the main parts of VR chat. In some VR chat worlds, there are private booths people can go to.
Yeah, I got you.
Bro,
What's
what?
this? See this whole badoinga out. What the fuck is this?
The
And that shit started
badoingador.
barking.
This
But
guy,
you know
bro.
me, I'm a freak ass nigga, so I had no other choice but to return the bark.
Any kid
I
getting
get
on
it.
this game is immediately assaulted by people doing lap dances, making out in the corner, and other 18+ activities no little goofer should be looking at.
If you can't. Oh my god. All right.
She types.
Okay, just stop.
Jesus, dude.
So it's that time again, another VR chat video.
He has like a model now.
We have indeed talked a lot about VR chat on this channel. We've talked about its culture, the many activities that people usually partake of on the platform. Personally, I still
sleeping.
don't understand the sitting in front of a mirror thing for hours. Like, is this some form of exposure therapy so you can eventually look at yourself in the mirror? But we also delved into some of the
Average VR
stereotypes
chat
VR
player.
chat is known for. However, there's been one topic and one stereotype I've mentioned multiple times but never really gone into. And it has been on my list for things to talk about for a while, just like the VRchat bar problem, that's probably next video. And this
VRchat
topic
bar
or
problem?
activity
Is it bad that I like going to like, so there's a Japanese VRchat world called Poppy Street where it's essentially like bars or like izakaya in a VRchat world where a lot of Japanese players gather to just drink. I like going to those servers and drinking with random Japanese people. If I do play VRchat, that's the only thing I use VRchat for. I go there to drink with random Japanese people or just to talk with random Japanese people.
itself is probably one of the main reasons why VRchat and its player base have such a negative reputation, as stereotypically it's said most players of VRchat take part in this so-called heinous activity, and it's said to occur very frequently on the platform, or so the stereotype goes.
Usa?
What is this degenerate activity that has supposedly taken over and tainted the reputation of VRchat? Well, if you're illiterate and can't read the title of this video, it is ERP, or Erotic Roleplay. Which, for those of you that don't know, in the context of VRchat, it's when two or more individuals perform NSFW activities on the platform, which basically boils down to touching the pixels of another person's avatar, where even in some cases, the participants claim to actually feel the activities occurring through phantom sense, or
Phantom
phantom
sense.
pain.
Because I have phantom.
Yes, while some people 10 to 20 years ago would have thought by this time we would have flying cars, maybe cured cancer, finally got a sequel to Titanfall 2 that
We
most
need
would
that.
sacrifice their firstborn for, and maybe,
Maybe not.
just maybe, a season 2 to that one obscure anime that had great characters, a great concept, and storyline
Yeah,
just for
I
it to be
agree.
left on a cliffhanger, never to be continued again. Please, for the love of
I
God,
need season
I'm
2
begging
of my
you,
shitty
please
anime.
just give me another season of what was essentially medieval peasants being blasted by an M1 Abrams. But whilst we haven't remotely achieved anything on that list, instead, in the current day, we now have the capability to goon on virtual reality. I swear we must be in the wrong timeline. But yes, VRchat is mainly infamously known for the many people on the platform that
Jesus.
participate in NSFW activities. It's like
Damn.
the #1 thing people outside of the VRchat community first think of when VRchat is brought up. Well, that or the deviants of society that take the game way too seriously, most commonly seen in those VRchat trolling videos.
Oh, I guess I'm weird for wearing a fursona. I guess it's also weird that I have a fucking litter box right beside me, is it?
Yes?
Yes, 100%.
Shut the fuck up.
But one of the main reasons this activity is somewhat synonymous with VRchat is because the NSFW side of VRchat isn't exactly hidden. There are public groups on the platform advertising it that most of the time anyone can join.
This is
But
a big
admittedly, Some
issue.
are just there for a joke.
It is an issue. Like, I don't think ERP is a like issue. Like, I think if done privately, like privately only like 2 people, it's not, people could do whatever they want. But once it leaks into the public and people are doing it in public, people are doing it in front of just like random players who could potentially be minors, or even minors having access to this kind of thing, that is where the issue lies. You know, if people want an ERP on their own time in their private world, sure, whatever. Go do what you want. But it's when it becomes public and super easily accessible is where the issue lies.
There's a variety of both public and private avatars made with this in mind, with multiple toggles and even systems that assist in the process. There's entire worlds dedicated to it, with even some of the most popular public worlds having private rooms for some reason, where God only
Really?
knows what's happening in there. Sometimes people don't even use the private rooms and just do it in the middle of a
this is the
public
big issue.
instance with a bunch of unknowing strangers around them, with their most popular spot being the Black Cat bathroom, where I'm pretty sure if you went in there with a black light, you would essentially just flashbang yourself.
Ew.
There are also VR chat events specifically for ERP. There are dating apps just for VR that some people use for things like one-night stands within the game. There's a whole monetized industry where people get paid by other people to do it. There are bespoke devices that go on your parts that can link to your avatar and respond based on what is happening to you in-game.
I did not know this
Even more
advanced tech.
recently, popular streamers have been exploring this part of VR chat, like Jinxie and Jason the Ween.
I already said mine, but I feel like the in like any way
Caught in
is
4K.
super hot to me. That's why I really like the idea of getting pissed on.
What are you fucking doing?
You've been such a dirty boy.
Time out. What is going on? This was live on Twitch? Is bro about to take a kick deal or what? Nah, I'm good. Yo, I'm good, bro.
However, we'll talk more about some of those things in depth a bit later. But first, where did ERP come from, and how did it
Like
get
old
to a point
MMOs?
where now it's supposedly
Like Second Life, I
all over
believe?
VR chat?
Maybe.
7-foot jobs. 7-foot jobs is all I can spare to give you. Here I am, offering you my precious feet.
So ERP isn't something
Huh,
that's
thank
unique
you.
to VR chat. It actually existed way before VR chat was even a thing. It's been around for a while. It was present in the early 2000s with ancient games like RuneScape, the game that is now a retirement home known as World of Warcraft, and even Habbo Hotel. People in these games would
Habbo
usually
Hotel?
perform this activity
Oh my
in
God.
text chat. Yes, people were beating their shit to text messages, which most times probably went something like asterisk, nuts in you,
Nuts in you.
asterisk. So if you thought people gooning with AI chatbots were bad, these people existed more than an entire decade before them. But obviously at that time, participants were only limited to text-based actions unless you implemented third-party things like mods, or just got really creative with the tools given to you in-game. However, there were games that would eventually
Jesus.
come out that would facilitate these activities more effectively and without the need for any third-party features to be implemented. A key example of this was with Second Life, a platform mainly run by the community, and it's considered either the distant cousin or the predecessor to VRchat. In fact, a large amount of Second Life players moved over to VRchat when it became more popular, because the two did have quite a lot of similarities, especially when it came to how they functioned and how the platforms mainly ran off community creations. And despite Second Life primarily being a desktop game, it also had somewhat of a big ERP and NSFW scene. They had clubs, avatars that could undress, animations for the
Jesus.
actions, and a lot of community-made features for it and things related to it, which nowadays
Those
in one
proportions
form or another
are-
can be found in VRchat. And I think you could argue that the VRchat community may have gotten some inspiration from Second Life when it came to this, but VRchat, probably because it was newer, had better VR support, and has more people playing it, arguably took these ideas a step further. VRchat would be released in 2013, but would only become popular in later years through things like it finally being available on Steam and trends like the Uganda Knuckles.
I
in
remember this. I remember
2018.
downloading VRchat to run around as Knuckles. Jesus, that was a long time. That was 8 years ago. Jesus, dude.
You don't know the way.
Do you know the way?
I know the way. You have to have Ebola to know the way.
Now, around this time when it saw its
So
first
silly.
spike in popularity, there was already some elements of ERP within the game, because at this point you're already able to create and upload your own avatars to the platform, so of course some people started putting genitals on their avatars. Because of course they did. This is like the opposite of the internet dead theory, I guess, because no AI would think to do this. But because it was still early days, there was no toggles, meaning that if you had these extra limbs to say the least, they would just be hanging out there. There would be no way to hide them unless you unequipped that avatar. And there was also no such thing as DPS yet, which, no, it does
Damage
not
per
stand for
second?
damage
Oh.
per second. In VRchat, it stands for something completely different, but I'll talk about that in a bit. Also around this time, most people only use these avatars for trolling because nobody would expect an anime girl with a 10-inch peni to be running around their instance back in those days. That's probably
love that
when the
gif.
game was at its most wholesome. But in 2019, things took a bit
What
of a
the-
turn. ERP and things surrounding it saw a sudden rise on the platform. People began talking about it more. NSFW avatars saw an increase, and worlds dedicated to it like
What
dungeons
the
with
fuck is
objects you could
this?
interact with began popping up. But admittedly, you had to seek these things out to find them. They weren't as widespread just yet. Well, not until late 2019 and early 2020 when we got the COVID arc of VRchat, where with everybody inside now due to the lockdowns, it led to a lot of people discovering VRchat and quickly becoming regular players. In fact, a majority
fair.
of VRchat players nowadays started playing around this time and just never left. But with the rise in players, there was also a rise in
What the
adult
fuck?
activity on the platform. Public worlds where one could watch people pole dance and maybe request a personal dance became commonplace, especially since full body tracking became a thing. And within said worlds, we saw the first appearance of private rooms
That's
where
pretty
people could get
interesting.
more private dances, to say the least.
I'm out of...
Streamers also began to flock to the platform and quickly got exposed to the culture of sorts.
May I have a sip, please?
What is XQC doing, man?
Yes.
Even better.
No.
Let me thank you, exactly. I appreciate a good face. I appreciate a good ahagawa face.
What?
You get to talk when it's your turn.
Is that fucking a sandpipe?
Watson from
More
Apex.
in-depth NSFW avatars also started to hit the platform. No longer did they just look like ripped models with parts hastily added on. People actually started putting real effort into them now, and a market for them was also developing. And eventually you could toggle the items on your avatar, meaning you didn't have to switch avatars if you had an NSFW on. A year
Holy
later, the
advancement.
ERP community took a massive leap with the implementation of DPS,
Wait, there's
which, as I
Beyblades?
said earlier, does not stand for damage per second, but dynamic penetration system,
Ah.
which was developed in a way where it manipulated the
Ah,
lighting
okay.
asset of an avatar so you were able to make your parts interact with the parts of another avatar. And you wouldn't just phase through them when you were doing the activity anymore, they would actually interact with each other. And an easy way to tell that somebody in your lobby had this on their avatar is if they had about 30 light assets on that avatar and they did not look like a fucking disco ball. These avatars with this capability would quickly spread throughout VRchat, but
That's
to
cool.
this day it's quite
See, there's actually cool uses for technology like this, but instead we're like, dynamic let's emphasize the penetration and dynamic penetration system.
to find at least half a lobby with an avatar that can do this. Also around this time, mods became a thing which were mainly used to increase performance or to assist those with disabilities playing the game, but there were also mods
cool.
used for ERP. Like I mentioned in
That's
my
not
previous
cool.
video, there was a mod that allowed you to physically drag the avatars of other people around against their
What?
will with things like a leash, but as said, people just usually ended up hanging each other in the middle of a public lobby, and in 2022 they would just outright ban mods
Okay,
with the
that's kinda
implementation
funny.
of easy anti-cheat, but people got around that, and now there's just standalone public worlds with this feature built in. Around 2022, the topic of ERP became a regularly discussed thing on the platform.
Born to
There were
VRP
now
on
events,
VRchat all day.
clubs, people sold it, and entire Discord servers were dedicated to it, where people would post their bios, making sure to mention their height if they are anywhere close to 6 foot, and also all of their kinks, hoping to attract an ERP partner, who is probably just going to be a mute and a female avatar who is most definitely a guy IRL. But you can lie to yourself saying that they're just mute because they're shy, or they have advanced tonsillitis, that's why they can't speak. Sure, buddy, whatever helps you sleep at night. Some people like a cake with a candle. You do you. Anyway,
Cake with a
ERP was
candle.
more popular than ever on the
Interesting saying.
VRchat platform, and going past 2022, people outside the VRchat community started to associate it with the average VRchat player, probably due to clips like this.
Darling, trust me, nothing's impossible. You sure about that?
This is a hard watch.
Because I'm noticing that your
Please cut the
voice
clip.
is
Please
slowly
cut
starting
the
to
please, please cut the
soften.
clip.
How sure are you? 99% sure. And that 1% is the amount of water you'll have in your body after I finish fucking.
But overall, ERP wasn't this
Excuse me?
niche thing anymore like it was in previous years. Yes, it wasn't absolutely everywhere, but it wasn't that hard to find now.
Yeah, it's very
Take one look at the
accessible,
VRchat
which
groups
is the
tab
big
and you can see a
problem.
lot of groups for it. Or take one look at someone's bio and they may have something referring to it.
Just
or even
looking for
just look at
ERP,
their avatar
LOL.
and it may have a toggle or two for it. You could also see it becoming more apparent in the worlds themselves.
Mario Kart
Like, why does
DS,
this
that's
world
cool.
specifically need private rooms, or why is there a cage in the corner of my cozy
Oh,
sleep
hell
world when
no.
there are no animal NPCs in this world whatsoever? Or even more concerning, why do the bathroom stalls have glory holes installed by
What?
people? And they never stop developing new things for this. Quite recently, SPS or super plug shaders became a thing, which you can probably
Super
guess what it's
plug
used for. You can
shaders.
also now interact with the clothes of other people's avatars directly. There was also now equipment for it, which also included shock collars, which could link to your avatar and activate depending on what was happening to it.
What?
A lot of the companies making them
This is
actually
crazy.
sponsor a lot of the ERP events happening in VRchat, probably because they know a lot of their customers are from VRchat. ERP and things related to it were common on the platform now, and as said, it's not exactly hidden. And I'm not going to get on my high horse, I know why people ERP. You may have a long distance significant other, you may be a bit lonely, or maybe you're a hornball that wants to
What
be smothered
the-
to death by a 6-foot tall dragon girl with a bust size bigger than Mount Fuji. You do you.
Yep,
But
you
with
do
all
you.
that said, with this happening on the platform, of course it's caused quite a few problems to say the least.
That girl is a real fart queefer.
What?
Big rum, she
I mean,
had
the problem
large
is the
doodle
accessibility and how it's
cheeks,
easy to
slap-
expose
Now, the
minors
first
to this kind
problem
of thing.
isn't something that happens regularly, but it still happens, and it's something I talked about at the start of the video. Which is because ERP avatars are so common now, people often go into public lobbies, admittedly sometimes not knowing their parts are out. Sometimes there's even glitches where for you it can appear like you're fully clothed, but for others your 16-inch human abomination is scraping across the floorboards for everyone to see. So please, for the love of God, if you are going into a public world, maybe check yourself before you wreck yourself, or just switch to a non-ERP avatar just in case. However, on the other side, there are people
Saul
that do this
Goodman.
on purpose, and it's not uncommon to hear about, with most of the stories usually sourced from the Black Cat bathroom, where people go into the stalls and just start ERPing with their mics on full blast. In
Like, this
public.
is so...
In an
Like, this
instance
is so
that is
bad.
considered to be one of the most popular places to visit, where a lot of kids are. But most of the time this is rare, and the people doing it end up getting kicked either by the moderators
good.
or a vote to kick. However, it is still something that occasionally happens. The next problem I'm going to talk about is quite obvious, and it's the fact that ERP and things related to it are very common on the platform, despite VRchat still being marked as a 13+ game, and there are a lot of kids on the platform. And from my knowledge, I don't know if VRchat have pushed back against this at all. I mean, DPS has been in the game for years, and there was nothing ever done about it. Now, first of all, I think VRchat should be at least 18+ with everything there is.
I
on the
agree. I think at
platform.
this
But
point it
when
should
it
be
came to
18 plus. I think VRchat should definitely be 18 plus. I don't know, it's just, it's very hard. You'd either have to completely restrict any NSFW things, or you'd have to make the game 18 plus.
I previously held the opinion as long as people are doing it in either 18+ verified lobbies or
Yeah.
private instances, both with consenting adults, and nobody's doing it in public lobbies, I didn't really have any quarrels with it. Once
Same.
again, VRchat aren't doing
That's kind of
anything
my
about
take
it,
as well.
and people have shown they will stop at nothing to do it. I mean, have you seen the things they have created for it? So I didn't think there was any way to outright stop it unless VRchat wanted to heavily control the uploading uploading of avatars and worlds, which they will never do. But recently that
Yeah,
opinion
it's just too
changed
hard to
slightly
do,
after listening
I
to
feel
two
like.
people master debating the topic in a VC. Just for context, I was alt-tabbed being absolutely railed by the gods of RNG and Risk of Rain, so this conversation isn't verbatim of what both parties said, but on one side there was a veteran VRchat player whose opinion was somewhat similar to my own at the time. They didn't really care what VRchat players did as long as they're in a private world and above the age of 18. But they did add that VRchat for a while has been an adult game. These things were happening years before VRchat was known for the stereotypes and problems it faces to this day. They also added that adults were here first, everything else just built up around it, like the influx of kids from things like the release of the Quest and now even the phone.
Yeah, because kids can't afford VR headsets. Only adults can afford VR headsets. And I guess the only way a kid can get access to a VR headset is if their parents bought one for them, or if their parents owned one, or maybe their older sibling. So I can understand the argument that adults were there first because adults have the funds to access it. But now that it's released on like iOS and Android, where kids can easily get on, it does shake things up.
Of VRchat, making it more accessible than ever. The other party was someone with less hours in VRchat compared to the other person, and they didn't necessarily disagree with the point that adults and adult themes were there first. But they had an issue with the fact that even if this was true, why is VRchat still advertising itself
it's
as
still
13
plus.
Why isn't it 18 plus with all the adult themes that are common in the game? Yes, you have age verification and 18 plus lobbies, but both parties somewhat agreed that did not solve the main issue, like it not getting rid of some of the themes within the worlds, and the fact that some groups doing NSFW activities didn't utilize the 18 plus lobbies. At this point, both parties somewhat agreed that the game should not be 13 plus, it should be 18 plus, but there was still some contention about ERP happening in general on the platform in its current state, even if it was in a private lobby. But then the party against it made a really good point, and that is within the TOS of VRchat, it can be interpreted that VRchat themselves forbid these types of activities happening
I
on
thought
the
they
platform,
did forbid
even if
it.
it was in a private world, which also contradicted what it says in the community guidelines. Now at this point I had died in Risk of Rain due to a complete bullshit stunlock, and I was fully focused entirely on the conversation. Now the point was that this paragraph in the terms of service, although a bit vague, involves things such as ERP or at least ERP avatars. And everyone in the
I
call
think
at
that is
the
the
time
point
agreed
though.
if you took that
It
at
should
its
be
face
vague.
value, VRchat discourages this type of
I think they discourage it, but it's also purposely vague. They really need to just have a single stance on it. Either allow all these ERP features and make the game 18 plus, or completely restrict it and ban all NSFW stuff.
activity, even if you're in a private lobby and it directly contradicts what they have in their community guidelines. This wasn't that person policing what adults should do or kinks or degenerate
that's in their terms of
activities happening on the
service.
platform. This was them directly quoting something from their TOS saying that most things I've described in this video are disavowed by VRchat. Meaning if you are blowing the back out of your femboy buddy that insists they are not a femboy in a private world, and you reported them for getting their femboy back blown out in a private world, they should be banned. And apparently people did get banned for this at one point, allegedly due to VRchat being at risk of being removed from things like the App Store. There would be a ban with...
I honestly think it shouldn't be on mobile devices. I think if they just remove they delete it off the mobile devices, make it 18 plus, I think everything would be fine.
Where people,
Well,
even if they were
maybe
doing
not.
this in private lobbies with consent, they were getting outright banned just from one report. Or if they weren't
because
doing
it's
anything at all
TOS.
and just had an NSFW avatar on, which then contradicts their user guidelines rules. It's very confusing. One rule says one thing, one rule says the opposite.
Yeah, they need more
Ultimately,
clear
this is
rules.
the same point I've regurgitated multiple times. VRchat cannot choose if it's an adult game or a game for everyone, including kids. But I guess they are trying to make it work, but in my opinion, I don't think it's working well, especially when some argue that the NSFW part of it is baked into the platform at this point. I think they are eventually going to have to choose one or the other, or they're going to see the same issue Roblox is facing right now. If this game was 18 plus and all of this was happening, I don't think it would be as much as a problem as it is now.
Yeah,
But it's not.
I
It's
agree.
13 plus. hopefully not for long. But admittedly, it has been quite fun seeing streamers like Jinxie witnessing VRchat for the first time, and then quickly getting a reality check.
Good boy.
He's like, what am I doing? Why, bro?
Good boy. Good boy. You're so good for mommy. Oh, good for mommy.
I can't watch this.
We got to get our life together, bro. I think we go down there and just
Of course, Muda's using an Usopp freaking avatar.
end this, bro.
Really? You don't want to...
Bro, Muda, we just got spanked in a cage, bro. Like, I have...
Yeah. Conclusion.
Conclusion, that was ERP, where it came from, how it started on VRchat, where it is to this day, and some of the problems with it. And if any of you just started downloading the game after watching this, 1, you need help, probably stop listening to that mommy ASMR in your free time, and 2, not every VRchat lobby is like this, so you're going to
Yeah,
be
there's chill. I've met really chill people in VRchat. I just said that I've met people who I just sit around with and talk with. VRchat really has to sort out what they want their platform to be.
very disappointed. But yeah, I hope you learned something today. Again,
I-
better judgment. I will probably
I
see
did
you
learn.
again with another VRchat video in 3 months. And yeah, that's all I really had to say, and bye-bye.
I knew about ERP. I did not know about all this technology like DPS, SPS, the leash thing, the removing clothing thing. I did not know that existed. But yeah, that was the VRchat ERP problem. Maybe I'll hop on VRchat and just like, especially after watching the Kenji video where he was running around VRchat. That looked really fun. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. There are more videos on screen that you can watch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.